Oh, hi, podcast listeners. There's many ways you can listen to the Real Nerds podcast. You can subscribe on iTunes. You can also subscribe on Stitcher Radio. You want to send us a Twitter message? You can do that. It's so easy, at Real Nerds. Like us on Facebook, Real Nerds Podcast. You can visit our website, realnerdspodcast.com, where there'll be a lot of articles for you to not only read, but to listen to our previous shows. Do you like your stories told through pictures? Then you can also follow us at Real Nerds on Instagram. You can also call us, 720-6nerds5. Thanks for listening and enjoy the show.
This is Real Nerds Podcast, unofficially the official podcast of movie fans everywhere. I am Ryan. With me is Brad.
Hey.
And Zach.
Hello.
And every week on Real Nerds, we see a new movie and podcast our experience to the world. This week, we saw Malignant. Stay tuned to the end of the episode where we'll say if we recommend the film or not, play the trailer, and then spoil it. And yes, there is spoilers in this movie. So stay tuned for that. We also talk about movies that are coming out on Blu-ray, movie news, and stuff we've been watching throughout the week. We love movies. Movies is what we do. Movies is who we are. It's so ingrained in what we do. We quote them from here to far. Yep, that's what I got.
Clearly, Ryan does not have rehearsed material for this podcast.
No, it's more fun if it's all improv.
I mean, I wish I had a movie quote at the top of my head to respond to your lovely elocution there, but I don't.
Get with the program.
I'll just do what I always do. Talk my way out of it. Yes, I do. Every time.
It's the best way to be.
Yeah. Yep. Where's the energy, Ryan? Come on, pick it up.
Yeah, come on, leader.
Oh, it's always there. I mean, if I say something, you guys respond. This is how it works.
Okay.
I can't carry on the conversation with, myself. Jesus.
Banana. There we go. That saved it.
What has everyone been up to since the film explosion?
Yeah. What have we been up to for an entire week? Ryan, did you do anything interesting this weekend?
Not really. I've been I got a PlayStation 5 finally. Been playing that.
What have we been playing? Come on, spill some beats.
Miles Morales, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And Ghost of Tsushima.
What?
And
Ghost of Tsushima. Hold on, back up.
Yeah.
Explain.
In it, you are a samurai warrior who is trying to stop these Mongols from invading this village on the coast, and it does not go as planned. So you got to take care of business, as one would say. It's really well made. It's beautiful. And it's fun. Spider-Man is really fun. I just got done fighting the Rhino, and it's
was he played by Paul Giamatti?
He did have a Russian accent, so he was influenced.
Did he say I am a criminal?
No. There is a game that's preloaded into the PlayStation. It's called Astro's Playroom, I think is the name of it. Anyways, you're this little robot, and it's really just getting you used to the PlayStation 5 controller, which, I mean, it's exactly like the DualShock, but it's it's smarter, and it's crazy. So you'll walk with the little robot guy, and each one of his steps vibrates left or right, depending on what step it is. And yeah, it's the triggers are you can, depending on how hard you push them down, it recognizes it. They're pretty impressive. So it's kind of a demo, but it's really it's pretty long. I mean, I've been playing it for a long time, and I think I still have one or two more hubs to explore.
Okay.
So I play that while I wait for the games to download because they're freaking huge. But
yeah,
it's fun.
Once you do, you're rocking and rolling. And Brad, I know you were hanging out at the High Plains Comedy Film Festival, or the High Plains Comedy Festival. Blech.
No, not just hanging out. I was taking photos of the whole thing.
Oh, right on. How was it?
I took 6,000 of them ish, so I have a lot of photos to look through. And
I saw the one with the cat. I like the cat one.
Yeah, that's not part of the festival. That's just there's a cat. That was at Mutiny bookstore. The cat just hangs out there, totally chill. Also got to watch one of their employees threaten someone with a cattle prod. That was fun.
What?
What?
Well, there's like just people wandering around down there and harassing customers, and that weirdo harassed customers of the store and got pushed out and told if he came back in he'd get the cattle prod, and the guy proved that he had the cattle prod. That was fun.
I didn't realize the Mutiny Info Cafe turned into the Sawyer farm.
Yeah, it's wild down there on Friday, Saturday nights. So I was working 3 venues at the same time, so I was constantly walking up and down the street, back and forth. So
got yourself a good workout then.
Oh yeah, my thighs are quite sore.
Sore but sexy. Got to give it up for that. Now you can walk around with proud thighs, my friend.
I'm really uncomfortable right now.
I will say I've been listening to Filmsplosion 2011, which is
Me
their very
too.
first Filmsplosion, and a lot of it's really funny. When James says that if Zack Snyder, James Gunn doesn't make another movie after Super, then it's okay. Where he is now makes that really funny.
Was he not a fan of Super? Because I still
No,
have never
he
heard
is.
this one.
His argument is that if Super is his last movie, then he got to make a movie he wanted to make. And it's kind of funny.
And it's nice seeing him make small stuff, and maybe he'll do better in the future, and he clearly did better.
Yeah, it's really fascinating. There's a couple other things where Brad talks about he's disappointed with Green Lantern, and James just says DC sucks. And Brad said he did not want to see a Justice League movie. There's just lots of stuff going on. They go, wow.
Yeah, I said if Green Lantern failed, it would be like the catalyst for future poor performance from the DC universe. And yeah, I thought Man of Steel was good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was actually, I think Green Lantern was kind of the last straw of,
that kind
DC
of
movies that didn't quite live up to it, because the next year was, Dark Knight Rises, and then you had Man of Steel, then Suicide Squad. I mean, the first one, even no matter what you think about it, was really successful.
Batman v Superman was in between that.
Yeah, still made a ton of money for being maligned.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's really interesting hearing our takes on stuff. I'm pretty sure my list is going to change. So,
I think this is the one Filmsplosion I've never heard, so I guess I'll have to go back and listen to that one.
It's also one of the only ones that has an actual original poster for it.
Oh, really?
In so much that they all have original posters, but for the movies, Brad would ape like a big movie and use that font and kind of that design. This one was more of like an old timey, like remind me of like a Carnival Barker poster.
I've got one that says Filmsplosion 2012, and it looks like it's got Carnival font and then reels in the middle. Is this not the right one?
2012 is like the neon 80s
Yeah.
one.
So then So then I've got the right one. It's a red one, right, Ryan?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was so
Okay.
proud of the design when I made it, and I'm just like, ugh, I've done so much better since then. But yeah, the whole goal at that time was like, we were just figuring things out. So it was just like, it was like shouting visually into the ether of like, we have a podcast and we're doing a special episode of it. Pay
I
attention.
know we had like fans in attendance too.
In the beginning, they left like 20 minutes in.
Yeah.
And we also
It's just
did awards in that one,
Yeah.
but that was frustrating to listen to. So it's like,
yeah, really.
this doesn't
I mean,
matter.
we've gotten a lot better. But,
Yeah.
I mean, the part where we go into the movies is really good and funny, but the rest of the show is okay.
I'm just looking at the blue-buried image now on Google, and Ryan, you look way better than the cartoon.
Oh, thank you.
I mean, and also I don't know. Maybe I'm looking at your hair color wrong, which I don't have any real reason to look at your hair color, but I don't remember it being anywhere near blonde.
Yeah, my hair's blonde. Just now I'm old and there's gray in it, so I look old.
Oh, that's right. I guess you've always looked like an old fuck to me.
Yep, always.
Right on. Well, it sounds like you two had a fun weekend. I just sat around and podcasted all weekend, so
Yeah, that's okay too.
That's what you like to
helping
do.
out. Yeah, helping out the Punk Rock Horror podcast. So we did some coverage on Eli Roth, which you'll be able to hear this week, and it was interesting, kind of learning more about his career and just kind of like gauging it as a whole and not looking at it film by film. And then we'll talk about it in what we've been watching, but I finally caught up with at least one of his 2018 films. That really surprised me. Lovely. Well, gentlemen, what else do we do on this show?
Brad, take us around town.
Hey, film buddies, follow me around Denver.
The drive-in this week, the 88 drive-in has the same lineup as many weeks have been Candyman, Old, and Don't Breathe 2, and it might be the same one for a while because I think their season is almost over.
Well, at least till October when Venom comes out, and then James Bond and.
Well, depending on the weather, and I've only been there once this entire season, so I don't know how business is, but it wasn't well attended earlier in the season, so they might just wrap it up at the end of September. So, yeah, get out there while you still can.
Yeah.
And then the Holiday Twin has double check. Hang on. Yeah, Shang-Chi and Black Widow on one screen.
Oh, that's cool.
And The Grinch Stole Christmas and Christmas Vacation on the other. So they're really getting ahead of the Christmas season.
All right.
But they probably won't be open for.
Wonderful.
And I think before Friday, they have just Shang-Chi on one screen and Footloose on the other. So,
hey, no
Fun
dancing in that town.
No. You've got to take out the religious zealot that is John Lithgow. That's the only way that the world can be at harmony, my friends. Is that all that's going on at the drive-in circuit, sir?
The drive-in. I think there's something going on around town that's not drive-in related. Nope, that is it.
I've got Friday Night Weird here up at the Dairy Arts Center in Boulder. You'll be able to see We Need to Do Something. It's a 2021 film from Sean King O'Grady. Seeking shelter from a storm, a family finds himself trapped for days with no sign of rescue and untold evils lurking just beyond the walls in this wildly funny House of Horrors thrill ride. So, yeah, head on up to the Dairy Arts Center in Boulder, $12. Show starts at 8:30.
Very cool.
Yeah.
Hey, movie news happened this week. Unspool that reel.
It's real news. Well, we were gone last week, and during the last week, a bunch of trailers dropped. So I guess we need to talk about at least a couple of these. Let's go ahead and start with the Hawkeye trailer that came out. I didn't think we were getting a Christmas Marvel story again, but here we go. This looks like fun.
Yeah, I mean Marvel shows they do, I mean, I haven't ran across a Marvel show I don't think's been pretty good. So,
is this a situation? So when I walked out of Black Widow with you and we saw Julia Louis-Dreyfus, you let me know that I needed to watch Falcon Winter Soldier, but
yeah.
I'm assuming a lot more of her stuff is going to tie into this one.
Well, yeah, because I mean, spoilers for Black Widow at the end. She shows up again and recruits Black Widow's sister.
Yeah, and she says, "Do you want to know who the man was that was responsible for your sister's death?" And she hands him a picture of Hawkeye. Yeah, it looks cool, and looks like Haley Steinfeld's just been getting trained to be the new Hawkeye, and looks like a lot of fun. And then
I wonder how Julia Louis-Dreyfus's character knows what happened on Vormir.
Do you think that the whole journey of the Avengers has been documented at some point in the MCU
Maybe.
and we're just not aware of it?
Maybe.
But like, does the public know, or is it just an interagency thing? That would be my question.
Maybe she might have some friends in low places.
That's possible. Think she's hacking into Stark Tech? That'd be cool. I'd love to see some inner workings to figure out how all these holes are filled. Now that they've got the TV shows, they have every opportunity to do so. We also got a trailer for Guillermo del Toro's remake of the 1947 noir classic Nightmare Alley. So Ryan, if my plans are correct for the MCU, it means December is going to be Dafoe December, because we've got a nice little shot of Willem Dafoe in this Nightmare Alley trailer. But obviously, we're dealing with Bradley Cooper playing a mentalist in this movie. For anybody who hasn't seen 1947's Nightmare Alley, I highly recommend it. It's very, very good. The ending is a situation where they had to tailor to the needs of the era in regards to the code, but it's a fantastic movie, and I have a feeling that Guillermo del Toro is gonna. I certainly don't think he's gonna make a better version of it, but I think he's going to make an excellent version of it. So, did you get a chance to see the trailer, Ryan?
I did. I mean, it just looks like a noir film, but Del Toro
it's in the
style.
carnival. It's in the carnival, Ryan.
Yep.
It's in the carnival. It's gonna be great. And we also got a final trailer for Halloween Kills, and Ryan, I see that somebody's not really getting featured in this trailer, and it's one Tommy Doyle. So I have a sneaking suspicion that Tommy Doyle is going to have some kind of character turn in this movie, and they're trying to not reveal it.
Maybe. I mean, I heard it's crazy, and yeah. I mean, I didn't read the reviews too in depth because I don't want anything spoiled for me, but.
Yeah, I read a couple of them, and thankfully they were not going into spoiler territory, but it seemed like a lot of people were nonplussed with this, where I'm just like, so maybe we're just getting a really fun sequel to this, which is exactly what it needs to be. I don't think it needs to try to exceed what that first one did.
Yeah, I mean, I think Variety wasn't too nice to it, but I mean, I really don't care what quote unquote real critics say about it, because some of them are snobby. And when I read the review, it wasn't, I don't know. It didn't seem that they're really reviewing the movie, but I don't know.
They're reviewing their expectations off of what that first one did. That was what I got out of those reviews. Like they're expecting something transcendent when they already got that. And you're dealing with a franchise that has, past its first entry, has never really gone above and beyond their expectations. Like, they've been slasher movies, which is what the sequels to these movies generally are. I mean, frankly, that reboot was a slasher movie. Like, whereas the first original Halloween, it's a suspenseful horror film and it's got light slasher elements, but it's not till 2 that you get that full slasher motif. So,
yep.
And it was interesting seeing Kylie Richards back as Lindsay Wallace. So hopefully she's got more to do than just a cameo. I think the big shocker for me was seeing oh god, the smoking nurse. I can never remember her fucking name. God damn it. Rick Rosenthal's wife. Nurse Marion, who I don't know why she's there or why they're bringing her back, but I'd be curious to see if it has anything to do with this supposed like opening that involves Will Patton in it. And I didn't realize this, but Charles Cyphers is back as Sheriff Brackett, so that's going to be fun. Apparently, he works security in Haddonfield, at Haddonfield Hospital, so that'll be interesting to see. And then the final trailer that we got, that released while we were doing Filmsplosion 2001 was Matrix Resurrections. Damn. Anybody else excited for this, or am I the only one who's excited for this?
I mean, it looks kind of like they're redoing the first one. I mean, I don't know how Neo's alive, but I guess we're fixing to find out.
Yeah, I think we're going to get a interesting take on it. There's some interviews that Lena Wachowski did where she basically said, okay, if Warner Brothers was basically going to do a Matrix movie without her or Lily, and that's when she finally said, all right, well, if you guys are just going to do it without us anyway, I might as well just try to figure something out. And apparently through some tragedy in her own life, she found a way to tell a Matrix story that she wanted to tell. So I'm excited to see it. I like the imagery indicates ideas of how much the Matrix has evolved and changed or grown, because we'll talk about it in what we've been watching, but in Matrix Revolutions, they don't really indicate that the Matrix itself is dead. They just indicate that people will be given a choice of whether or not they want to leave. So I'm curious to see how they get around that. And frankly, if this is supposed to spawn off more sequels or if this is just a one and done. Because I wouldn't be surprised if this ends up being a one and done to prove a point. But either way, look for Matrix Resurrections this Christmas.
It looks like it looks like all the greatest hits of the first movie and then all the best parts of the sequels in like a reboot movie, like the Force Awakens of the Matrix movies.
Well, I would be inclined to agree with that notion in a positive light and add on to the fact that knowing what the Wachowskis have done in the past with upending expectations of what fans want versus what they want to do as artists, I'm very curious to see how it fucks with our heads a little bit. Whether or not people like it or not will be entirely up to the viewer. But
I fully expect to watch it and just feel like I watched the original again, but with like, modern effects. That's my expectation. I'll leave just going like, yeah, that was the first movie. Cool.
Fair enough. And then the last trailer we got, though, guys, was the most important. It was The Tragedy of Macbeth by Joel Cohen, which we're not going to talk about it too much because it's something only I give a shit about. But it's black and white in 4:3 and basically looks like Orson Welles' Macbeth. So I'm very, very curious. I mean, at the very least, for people who may not be interested in the artistic motif of it, we've got Denzel Washington and Frances McDormand in a Shakespeare movie. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun for some folks. So look for Tragedy of Macbeth from Apple Films. And
yay, won't watch it then.
Do you still have Apple Plus, or
no? I have it till the 26th of this month because I forgot to not use it, but I mean, I really haven't watched anything on it.
You should be watching Ted Lasso on it.
Yeah, I'm surprised you haven't gone on
I was
Ted
going
Lasso.
to, but how much Corinne tweets about it and says how great it is, I don't want to watch it now.
Dude. This is your
You're not
boy
going to
here.
trust your best friend Brad?
You don't watch a lot of what I recommend, but trust me on this. Just ignore that and watch it. Just pretend she doesn't watch it. And Brad does.
Because Brad said to watch it, I'll watch it.
Yeah, it's like you could probably watch it in an evening. It's like 10 half-hour episodes. It's like watching the second season of The Office or something.
Okay.
You'll enjoy it. It's funny.
I have 4 days.
Don't you like Scrubs? I thought you liked Scrubs.
I do like Scrubs.
I think people from the Scrubs helped make it, so.
Yeah, Zach Braff directed an episode or two.
Well, I think one of the producers, too, is like involved in this show. But yeah, it just won a bunch of Emmys. Roy Kent.
Yeah, I saw that.
He's here, he's there, he's fucking everywhere. He's Roy Kent. He swears at children. You'll love it.
Okay, I'm down.
We're just trying to help you live a better life, Ryan, in any way we
I
can.
appreciate it.
Last piece of news that I have is unfortunately some sad news. Norm Macdonald passed away at the age of 61. He was quietly fighting cancer. And he died. The news was announced on September 14th, the week we were doing Film Explosion 2011, or 2001. So, Brillstein, his management company, Brillstein Entertainment, said he was most proud of his comedy. He never wanted the diagnosis to affect the way the audience or any of his loved ones saw him. Norm was a pure comic. He once wrote that a joke should catch someone by surprise. It should never pander. He certainly never pandered. Norm will be missed terribly. Norm Macdonald obviously started as a contestant on Star Search and then was hired as a writer on Roseanne before he moved into SNL and then got fired from SNL. And he ended up headlining his own films such as Dirty Work and Screwed. Also starred in films like Dr. Dolittle and Billy Madison, would end up on My Name is Earl, The Middle, The Orville. And he was the original voice of Death in Family Guy. Anybody have a fun Norm Macdonald memory? I've got one.
Oh yeah, I mean, I posted it. My friend Brandon and I used to reference his interview with Cohen, where I forget her name. She's out there and she's promoting her leaving Melrose Place, and she finished a movie with Carrot Top called Chairman of the Board. And we just always say, "Oh, a Carrot Top movie? Was it called Box Office Poison?" We always love when he did that. And I actually had an opportunity to see him perform stand-up. I think 3 years ago.
Was this the Adam Sandler thing?
Yeah. So it was him, Adam Sandler, and David Spade and Rob Schneider. It was a really good time. And his brand of humor is so unique. And he had this, what I always liked about when I watched him on talk shows or even Saturday Night Live is he didn't give two shits if you thought it was funny or not. He was going to tell his joke his way and make it his own. And you either liked it or you didn't. And that was up to you. So I always appreciated his dry sense of humor. And there's a great supercut on YouTube. It's called Norm Macdonald constantly shitting on O.J. Simpson.
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty great.
Yep. Does anybody remember the Comedy Central roast of Bob Saget when he got up and did his set?
Oh yeah.
He's a master at non-humor, and I don't remember the exact setup off the top of my head because it's been a couple days since I rewatched the clip, but there's a line about like his face looks like a flower. Yeah, cauliflower. And then there's just silence, and all you hear is the comedians on stage laughing, and nobody in the audience is really laughing until like 10 seconds later. And there's an album that he did called Ridiculous, which it's not a traditional stand-up album. It's like a series of sketches, and it's just wonderful to listen to. He took forever to produce it, and it came out in 2009. So if anybody's never heard Ridiculous, you need to check that out. Also, I love the movie Dirty Work. And it's been a while since I've seen it, but I remember loving that movie when I first popped it on early in college because I was getting on. Norm Macdonald and Kevin Nealon were appealing to me heavily in college. And Dirty Work's fun. Screwed is actually a fun movie. Yeah, he was always a fun supporting player amidst the Sandler gang. So it's a shame, but I didn't even realize he had a show on Netflix called Norm Macdonald Has a Show. So I guess I'll have to check this out. Brad, do you have any fun Norm Macdonald memories, or were you not a fan?
No, you guys took it all.
Okay. Sorry.
Perfect.
But anyway, we'll miss you, Norm. Thank you very much for everything you gave us. And that's news.
Corinne called in. She's back with the 38th installment of Catching the Classics.
Hey nerds, Corinne here for part 38 of Catching the Classics, where I watch famous and popular movies I've never seen before and send in my review. Yeah, we're bringing it back. It's only been like 8 months since the last one. And the last one, incidentally, was a double feature of Seven Samurai and The Magnificent Seven. So we're going to keep the Akira Kurosawa theme going here. So part 38 is about Rashomon. Incidentally, it is on HBO Max if anybody's interested in checking it out. Yeah, so I gotta say, I really wish I would have gone into it with a little bit different mindset, because I knew the basic premise of Rashomon, which is it's like 4 different people. They're all giving an account of the same incident that ended with someone being murdered, or at least getting killed. And so it's just, you get all these different perspectives. And of course, I've seen a lot of, I think that was just like a thing in like the 90s, especially, where, TV shows would always have like an episode where something happened and everybody had to walk through like their version of the story. And at the end, some new evidence or something would come to light, and we would get some kind of definitive version of what really happened. So that's what I was expecting, is like by the end, we would know what really happened, who really killed this guy. But that's not the case. Mild spoilers, I guess. At the end of the movie, you don't find out who did it. And so that was a little frustrating for me because, big Sherlock Holmes fan, like murder mysteries. So, the whole time I'm like trying to piece everything together and trying to figure out like, okay, so really, who really killed this guy? And so not getting a definitive answer was a little frustrating. But, I was reading some stuff about it afterwards and listening to other people's analysis and interpretations or just their takes on the movie. And, I really do appreciate it just in what it has given us as a culture, where it has taken this actual phenomena of, people, memories not being very reliable, and how you have these kind of conflicting perspectives and stories about the same event. And, the phenomenon is actually even called the Rashomon effect or something like that, because of this movie. So I gotta give it props for that much. Like, it is a huge cultural impact. So I guess like part of it was on me. I should have went into it with a different, different expectations. But ultimately, even just looking at it as a film, like, it is really well put together, but I think it's a little long. Like, there's some sequences that feel purposefully drawn out, and I'm like, I think you could have cut this down. Like, this didn't need to be, 3 minutes of a guy walking. Cool. Why not a minute and a half of him walking? Why did it have to be so long? But anyway, like, Akira Kurosawa is like a, masterclass filmmaker, and there are a lot of like cool camera techniques and angles on the shot and everything that I was just like, wow, I was really impressed with it. And it is in Japanese, so if you don't like subtitles, then I don't know what you're doing in this life, but okay. But anyway, I thought that the performances were okay. Obviously I was mostly reading the subtitles, but overall good movie. Little long. I think the parts of it could have been trimmed. The ending especially felt kind of rushed for me. Like this, I don't want to spoil too much for you, but this thing kind of happens in the last like 5 to 10 minutes. And I'm like, that just kind of came out of nowhere. Like, okay. So anyway, I do recommend people check it out if they haven't already seen it, just for the cultural value. Rashomon, it's on HBO Max. And ultimately, I think I'd give it 3.5 or 4 stars. If I watched it again, I might give it a higher score now that I know what to expect. But that's just what I get out of a first viewing. So anyway, don't know when I will do another one. Maybe next week. Probably not. Probably not for another 8 months. But I'm not going to promise any particular movie. So I will watch what I can when I can. So, all right. Take care, nerds, and I'll talk to you all soon. Bye.
That's what Corinne thought about that movie. Moving along.
I love the part where she talked about the thing that happened in that reel that one time.
No, I'm the worst. I listened to it before we started, and I can't remember what she was talking about.
Uh-oh.
But it was something about she was following up the Seven Samurai movie she was watching.
Was she going back on Kurosawa?
Yeah, it's
Rashomon.
Rashomon. There it is.
Rashomon. Yeah.
I worked 13 and a half hours today. But yeah, that's the one she watched.
I can tell. It's okay. Yeah, Rashomon from Akira Kurosawa. It's one of many legendary films made by a legendary director. You should probably check it out.
Yep. What Corinne said about it.
She better have liked it.
We sometimes pick up movies on Blu-ray and 4K, and we're going to tell you about the ones that we most likely will get.
DVD releases and Blu-rays.
Wonderful. Well, while we were gone last week, we should point out that Black Widow is available on 4K and Blu-ray in Steelbook form and in regular format, along with The Shawshank Redemption in 4K. So if you want those two movies, get them. This week, though, you can go hang out with your droogies in 4K because The Clockwork Orange is coming to you. 1971 Stanley Kubrick controversial classic. We're also
it's one of those movies that people love of his, like The Shining, and I think is just okay.
It's been a while since I've rewatched Clockwork Orange. I don't know what my assessment of it would be today. I think I've watched The Shining more than I've watched that one, so maybe I like The Shining more. But
I think The Shining is the most overrated horror film of all time.
We know,
because it's not scary; it's just stupid.
Oh, okay. It's not my favorite horror movie, but I'm glad that people enjoy it.
Not me. I have better taste in horror films.
Okay, fair enough. Well, how about this? It's not a horror film, but do you like M. Night Shyamalan's Unbreakable?
Yes.
Then you can get it in 4K if you so want that.
I did.
Brad did it, and he got it in 4K. Did you get the Steelbook?
Duh.
Is the Steelbook cool, Brad? I haven't even seen a picture of the Steelbook.
Oh, yeah. It's like purple and green and
Green Goblin colors.
It's
okay,
it's like shattered on the cover here, and like Mr. Glass is like his face is kind of fading through. David Dunn's, costume, I guess, is his little. What the fuck is it called?
The Raincoat Man.
Yeah, raincoat. I guess poncho. That's
yeah.
I think Samuel L. Jackson is great in that film.
Yep,
it's my favorite Shyamalan film.
Yep,
there you go.
Too.
Can't go wrong there. Well, if you're while you're out and about getting that, you might also want to pick up The Longest Yard on Blu-ray with Adam Sandler and Chris Rock, the remake.
Yeah, I got that in the mail today.
You did? Woohoo!
I did. It's one of those movies of his I couldn't believe wasn't on Blu-ray. I think it made something almost $175 million.
Well, was it as big a hit as his other ones, I guess?
$175 million is a really big hit.
But compared to other films he's made, I guess is what my question.
Oh, yeah.
Fair enough. And this is a movie that I'm not familiar with. Maybe you are, Ryan. We've got from Vestron. Oh, no, wait. No, Dementia 13 I'm aware of. Yeah, you can get Dementia 13 from Francis Ford Coppola.
I was going to say, okay.
No. Sorry. I don't know which one I'm looking at here. Oh, the other one. Sorry. Straight Time with Dustin Hoffman from 1978. It's coming to Warner Archive. You ever heard of this?
Nope.
Looks interesting. After being released on parole, a burglar attempts to go straight, get a regular job, and just go by the rules. He soon finds himself back in jail at the hands of a power-hungry parole officer. When he's released again, he assaults the parole officer, steals his car, and returns to a life of crime. Dustin Hoffman doesn't seem capable of doing all those horrendous things. But then again, we never know who we're looking at here.
The 2005 Longest Yard did $192 million worldwide.
Okay, never mind, Ryan. You're right. That should have been on Blu-ray a while ago.
I'm always right, Zach.
You know
Sooner
what?
you get on board.
You know what,
easier it's
Ryan?
going to be for all of us.
If you don't keep it down, I'm going to have a breakdown with Kurt Russell from 1997.
That
Coming
movie's
to you
good.
from Paramount Classics. I've never seen it before.
I haven't seen it in a long time, but it's one of those 90 thrillers movies that are pretty good.
Yeah, I'm a Kurt Russell guy. I've never seen this one. A man searches for his missing wife after his car breaks down in the middle of the desert. Directed by Jonathan Mostow of Terminator 3 fame. Warner Archive is also giving us the naked. What? Go ahead.
Has he done anything since then?
I don't know if Jonathan Mostow has been working since then. That's a good question, Brad. While you're looking that up, maybe you can also pre-order The Naked Spur with James Stewart and Janet Leigh from 1953 from Warner Archive. Or if you're wanting some Mel Gibson and Goldie Hawn in your life, you can get Bird on a Wire from 1990, coming to you from Kino Lorber. Also, if you're really, really in the mood to just torture yourself, the Crocodile Dundee trilogy coming to you from Blu-ray and digital, containing all three of those Crocodile Dundee films. So I'm sure James is picking this up immediately, right? Like he was the first in line to get it. And we're also getting Dead Men Don't Wear Plaid from Kino Lorber. So we originally got a universal release of this, but now Kino Lorber is picking it up for their label. Also this week, you can get Cruella in 4K, which I'm actually tempted to pick up because I did like that movie and I'd like it enough to actually own it. Criterion is putting out Love and Basketball, the Gina Prince Blythewood movie from 2000. And Warner Archive is also putting out The Window with Barbara Hale, Bobby Driscoll, Arthur Kennedy, Paul Stewart, and Ruth Roman. And it looks like Paramount's going back into their well with Hardball, the 2001 film with Keanu Reeves and Diane Lane about a man who just needs to teach kids how to play baseball in Cabrini Green and thus save the world. We saw
Actually, I
that
think that
in
movie's
theater.
not too bad either.
Yeah, it's got a lot of heart to it. I don't remember much of it, but I remember that soundtrack occupying a lot of my brain because it was the first time I ever heard Biggie Smalls. So,
Wait, Cabrini Green?
Cabrini Green, yes,
Isn't that where the Candyman is?
that is where the Candyman is. Do you? Oh my
Those
God,
poor
Ryan.
kids. Those poor kids.
Ryan, is Hardball a Candyman spinoff that we're just not looking into?
Yeah,
Like,
it is. That's
In
my
the-
spot on Keanu Reeves.
it would be a hard left turn if at the end of Hardball you just had Tony Todd show up.
I'm down.
And the last thing that I'm sure everybody is picking up is Family. You can get Family on 4K and Blu-ray. Is anybody else here picking up Family? I didn't think so.
That's Zach's joke for, I think, Furious 9.
No, it's just Family, Ryan. That's what it's called. It's Family. That's all you need is Family, right? So all you need is the Steelbook.
Nope.
Exercise and running a joke into the ground.
I don't care. You know what? There have been 9 of these movies. They've already done that. They've already ran the joke into the ground themselves. And that's new, or that's Blu-ray. Sorry.
We watch things throughout the week in a segment I call What We've Been Watching.
So, yeah, this is the stuff we've been watching.
Brad?
Oh, man. We had a film explosion last week, and I watched a ton of stuff during that week. So how do I break this up? All right, I'll start out with the Disney stuff. I was watching a bunch of Disney 90s classics on Disney Plus, starting with The Big Green, which I haven't seen since the 90s, and that's fun. Is
that the soccer movie?
Yeah, it's the soccer one. The kids in, I think it's Elma, Texas. They have nothing better to do except just screw around all day and go to school. And then they get a new teacher from England, and she introduces them to soccer and Steve Guttenberg or football. And Steve Guttenberg is the town sheriff who helps out with them and everything, and they try to compete, and they take on the big dominating team and beat them. The end.
Cool.
I guess the creative part of that movie is the goalie. Whenever he's being like chased down by the opposing team, he gets really scared and he imagines them as monsters. So he hallucinates that they're monsters and then gets scored on constantly. So he has to overcome that and imagine himself as the monster. Yep.
Oh,
And then
I get what they did there.
Yeah. And then I watched The Sandlot for the first time. Apparently that's a movie people love, and I say that's a great movie starting at the very end.
Wow.
The best part is what the actual drama is when the kid steals the baseball and then loses it and they have to get it back. Everything else is just episodic, fun things that they did over the summer. The actual drama of the movie is the kid steals his dad's baseball and gets it lost, and then
it's boomer nostalgia, Brad. What's not to love?
and then they meet James L. Jones, and it turns out he's not an evil guy, and he solves other problems. So
yeah, I made the joke about it, but I like that movie a lot. I don't think it's as wonderful as everybody says it is, but I do enjoy it. Like, there's fun moments in it.
Yeah, it's fun stuff. But like the best part is the last 15 minutes for me. Then I also watched something that I had fond memories of, but I probably watched it once back in the 80s, and then I gave it a shot today, and that movie is called Flight of the Navigator.
I used to love that movie when I was little.
Yeah, that movie belongs on How Did This Get Made because it's insane. It took 45 minutes to an hour to actually get to the ship.
Really? God, man.
Yeah.
I had to have that much patience when I was a kid.
Yeah. And I like everything I remember from it is from the ship part, right? So it felt like I was watching a completely different movie leading up to it. This kid, I forget his name. He lives in like South Florida, and they drop his brother off at a friend's house to like hang out, but he doesn't go with him. So he goes home, and then like shortly thereafter, his mom's like, "Hey, go get your brother." So he walks through the woods and then like falls in a ravine because his brother pops out of a tree somewhere and scares him. And then he wakes up and suddenly he's like 6 or 7 years in the future. And he's been missing for all that time, and his parents have moved. So like the law enforcement gets involved, and then like NASA is Howard Hessman is like this NASA guy who's like simultaneously tracking this ship they found, and then they find out the kid has some, like, why was this kid missing and why hasn't he aged in 7 years? So they connect up, and then like Sarah Jessica Parker is like the nursemaid because they eventually bring him to NASA, and like the weird thing is they want to bring him to NASA, and this kid's like, I don't trust NASA. Like, of all the government agencies, like, you could like not want to be involved with, like, this movie says it's NASA. Like, he's super suspicious of them. And so he's like, eventually after some convincing, he gets locked in a room. He's like, okay, I was right to be suspicious. Something's going on here. And really, they're just like trying to hold him as long as they can to do these tests, to see if like they can get him inside the ship. And eventually he sneaks out of his room and gets inside the ship and then takes off on his little navigator thing. And then the ship itself, like, I'm watching it, it has like a kind of like a computer voice, and then it like flip flops between having a Pee Wee Herman voice. I was like, what's it? Because he's trying to like he downloads stuff from the kid's head, and then it just gets sillier because it's like melded with him. And then I was like, man, this guy was doing, this is from like 1986. I'm like, I guess Paul Rubens ripped off the Pee Wee voice from this movie, and I looked it up, and it is Paul Rubens, but he's going under a pseudonym. So he was trying out the voice in that movie.
Wait, isn't Pee Wee's Big Adventure 85? I think
You're right.
It is. Yeah, it is.
Yes. Okay. I guess I was thinking more of the cartoon show, but you're right. The Adventure was from 85. So yeah, he snuck that in there. Yeah, I forget what like the fake name is, but yeah, if you look it up online, it's Paul Rubens is the voice of that ship. Yeah, Yeah, and then just like flies around a bunch and like he's constantly trying to escape NASA and like the last 20 minutes is just that. Like it's the smallest portion of the movie and it's just really just kind of flying to different places and trying to control the ship and like nothing becomes of it. Like he eventually gets off and goes home. I forgot. The dilemma is that the ship he hasn't aged because the ship like it's kind of like Interstellar where depending on how far out you go, like time is different, time passes differently.
Yeah.
So he didn't age and then, got dropped off 7 years later. But something like he was supposed to be a specimen for it, but they didn't get all the information from his brain. So, they wanted to download it again. And then the kid wanted to go back to his own time, but the ship was like, well, if I send you back to your own time, it could actually like kill you. So I can't do that. And by the end of it, it's like, okay, let's do it. And then he does it and everything's fine. So there's no real drama to it in the end. But the special effects and like the ship are really cool, being all practical and whatnot. That's probably the best part of the movie is the production design. Then I watched the score, Rush Hour 2 and Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back, and I talked about those on last week's Film Explosions, so I'll skip that. I rewatched Ted, I think for the first time since it came out, and that's fun.
I like that movie a lot.
Yeah, it's way raunchier than what I remember, and that's great.
Yeah, my favorite joke in there's no such thing as chicks with dicks, only dudes with tits.
And then another movie I hadn't seen from that year in a while, I think since the theater, was The 5 Year Engagement. And I like that way more the second time around.
With Siegel and Emily Blunt?
Yeah. Because not only is it like really funny, but it's also like it's really slow. Like it felt like a 2.5 hour movie, but it just goes into such a detail of the strain that drawing out this engagement puts on these two people. And it might have been longer because I think I watched it on Hulu and it was like branded as the extended edition. So like I couldn't tell what scenes were new and old, but like that might be obviously why it felt longer. So, overall that was actually a lot of fun. You forget like Chris Pratt and like Alison Brie are in it, before they were huge. So it's fun seeing them before their rise. And then Anger Management, the Adam Sandler movie with Jack Nicholson. Kind of dopey, but there's some good parts to it. And then because Norm Macdonald died, I watched Dirty Work, which I hadn't seen since the 90s. And yeah, it's very much like his humor.
Yep.
He and his best friend, they're really good at pulling revenge pranks. So their dad goes to the hospital. He needs like a heart transplant or something. So they have to raise the money, and they do that by starting a revenge business. And that's about it. It's crazy. and a bunch of SNL people pop in here and there, like Adam Sandler's the devil.
I love too, because even in that movie, Norm Macdonald has what I was talking about earlier. I don't care at all. He's not a good actor.
No,
but there's something funny about when he's in jail and he says, "You know what hurts the most? Well, besides that one part, is the lack of respect."
Yeah, like I think intentionally, like no one is acting well in this movie because they know everything just doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's stupid but fun.
Also, Chris Farley is the guy at the end of the bar who has his nose bit off by a
Saigon whore.
Saigon whore, yeah.
There's the Saigon whore.
And later he's like commanding the skunks, Yeah. So that's that. I watched. Oh yeah, the last two old things. Other People's Money. I watched for the first time with Danny DeVito. He's like a shady Wall Street guy who wants to buy out this cable company, and he has to do a bunch of lawyer stuff to screw them over, and then he has to go up against Penelope Ann Miller, who's the rival lawyer who's related to the Gregory Peck who owns the cable company, and he falls for her, and they have like a will they won't they, I guess, sort of romance. For the most time she hates him because he's trying to ruin these people's lives, but then he has like the Wall Street moment at the end where he basically argues how greed is good again. So that was all right. And then what was it? Oh yeah, Raw Deal with Schwarzenegger. I hadn't seen before.
That's
and
an all right one.
Yeah, that's definitely another how'd this get made one. Like, he's like a small town sheriff who is having a rough time with his wife. I guess they moved to a small town to avoid some criminal case or something. So she's frustrated, and he decides that the way to solve this is to fake his own death and commit to this other case where his higher up, I guess his son got killed in a stakeout or something. So they decide to like fake his death and then give him a new identity so he can infiltrate this crime ring. And yeah, it's like one of the lines, like a lot of the dialogue's terrible. One of the lines, like there's this undercover cop who walks up to a car that's like sitting out, like watching the safe house or whatever, and she's like, "When's the last time you had a good piss?" And like pulls a gun on him and like walks him up to the door so they can like get the guys inside to open the door. And yeah, it's just like, what a weird line to do. Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff like that. Yeah, and then the new stuff I watched. Did I talk about the Lost Leonardo documentary?
No.
Yeah, that'll make you hate like economics and the global, the art world globally. So the Lost Leonardo is a documentary about a couple years ago, someone found a painting in like New Orleans, just in a random place, pulled it out and said like, this looks like a Leonardo da Vinci, but it's probably like a student of Leonardo da Vinci's painting, right? So we'll sell it for a little bit and turn a profit. I think they made like $8 million on it. And then the hype got around. So this guy who was like an intermediate for Russian billionaires found out about it and then bought it and then turned it around for even more money. I think he made like $20 million profit on top of that. And then the Russian guy who bought it, thought it was a real Da Vinci, and that's why he got so much money for it, and found out he was screwed over, and then sold it again. And then it, like, remember in Tenet, the safe house where people hold all their artwork?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This movie shows the real place. I forget what it's called, like a specific name for those like safe storage places that are like in between. They're at airports in Geneva,
Customs?
so that customs. There's a free port. That's what it is. It's a free port, and so it got shelved in there, and then I forget what happened to get it out again, but basically it ended up in Christie's of New York, right? And then people are saying, it went through a bunch of scholars, and people are saying it's an actual lost Da Vinci work. So it goes on the auction block, and I think the highest piece of art, the most any piece of art auctioned for, was like $100 million, and this one went up to 400 million. So it was like this big deal, and it's ridiculous, and it's like it still may not even be a real Da Vinci work, but it's just like the hype and everything and the marketing behind this stuff. And it was like unconventional for Christie's to even have like a marketing event for this. And then it goes to the Louvre, or it gets invited to go to the Louvre from the new buyer, and the new buyer is anonymous, right? But that's like so much money that everyone is pretty sure it's from, it was bought by the Prince of Saudi Arabia. And eventually you find out, yes. And then he wants it in the Louvre, just to like, as a flex, right? But it can't be in the Louvre because it's not like, they can't verify that it's an actual Da Vinci. So he gets butthurt and doesn't show it there, and then like just creates like an outdoor art installation in Saudi Arabia that he wants to promote, like everyone to come to. And it's just all the twists and turns of all these people overvaluing this piece of art and all the money involved with it. You're just like, ugh, so frustrating. But yeah, the documentary is pretty good. Just seeing a glimpse into the darker side of the art world and how billionaires can just ruin it all, like just make it about themselves and not the art.
Yep.
Billionaires
The status symbol.
Yeah, it's all about status. It's not about the art. So
this is all to say, eat the rich. Anyway.
Yeah. And then the last thing I watched was the Chez Artistes reopened.
Yay!
Which is great.
I know they're showing the Boris Karloff documentary there from Shout Factory. I'm working that day, but
is it only one day?
Yep.
Fuck.
I think
not too bad.
Yeah, sometime in October. You can go to shoutfactory.com to see.
Going right now.
Yeah, so immediately I wanted to go and say like, hey, welcome back. And they had 3 movies, and one was a documentary about Broadway, and the other, I don't know what it was, but it was just a lightning bolt on a poster. And then the last one was a poster with Juliette Binoche on it. And I was like, well, she is seems to be like she's in good movies, right? So I guess I'll see that one. And it's called Who You Think I Am. And it's about a woman, recently divorced woman who just is in a rut in her life and wants to feel attractive again. And she meets this guy through this other guy that she's seeing and decides to basically catfish him. And so she builds a Facebook profile and pretends to be, some young 20-year-old, and eventually, has to eventually meet up with him because he eventually wants to meet her, and she can't do it because, she feels like an ugly 40-year-old, and this stresses him out. And this is where the movie gets weird. Is I thought he killed himself. So she deals with the consequences of that, but like it turns out she's writing this book, and so this whole thing may have been a story she made up for the book. But then he's still alive at the end, so I guess part of it was a fantasy. But yeah, but it basically just the movie amounts to catfishing is wrong, don't do it, you can ruin lives. She almost does. And just be okay with being old. So, and it was in French the whole time with subtitles, so I might have missed something, and that's why maybe the third act was a little confusing.
So, what was the movie with the lightning bolt?
I don't know. I didn't get past the poster.
Huh. Yeah, you missed a secret screening of Flash.
That's what that was?
Yep.
Okay.
The Flash. You missed out Michael Keaton's return. Jeez, dude, way to drop the ball.
Wait, that's a Michael Keaton movie?
It's talking about the Flash, where it's the Flash from DC Comics.
Oh, you're making this up. I gotcha.
Yes, because his logo is a lightning bolt that's yellow.
I mean, it could have been a Thor movie.
True.
Yeah. Yeah, that was all right. It was French and a little weird at the end.
I'm not seeing this for the Boris Karloff doc, Ryan. I think you're lying to me.
Yep. What'd you watch this week, Zach?
Well, since I can't find out about the Boris Karloff documentary that I want to see, I'll just talk about the bullshit I watched. Now, so after we were done recording the last time we did a review, I kicked back and I watched a movie called Dead of Night from 1945, which is an anthology from Elstree Studios. And it's Ryan, I kind of want you to watch it and tell me what you think of it. I really liked it. But it's not what you're used to with anthologies from the horror realm, because it's made in the 40s. It's got to go a certain route, and it is British horror, so it's not that, they're not going to go with just like, they're not going to show everything like an American Sensibility would. It deals with a lot of atmosphere. But I think you'd like it, especially because it keeps ramping itself up with each installment. The whole story centers around a gentleman really who has an appointment at this house, and he goes into the house and he realizes that he's been having a dream about all of these people, and what he's hiding is that eventually he's going to commit a murder. And they all try to tell him that the destiny and the fate is nonsense, and they talk about their own supernatural experiences to try to quell his fears. And each story gets rapidly more insane than the last. It's really fantastic. And I'm a sucker for scary ventriloquist dolls in horror movies, and this one's probably got the scariest of them all.
Nice.
I won't spoil it because it's the final segment, Ryan, but there's an image in there that, no matter how old that movie is, that thing is fucking terrifying. Like, just goddamn, like, kill it with fire. Terrifying. So yeah, if you check out Dead of Night, you will not be disappointed by any stretch. And I rewatched Friday the 13th because I just wanted to kick back to a slasher movie, and that movie's still wonderful. And then what was not so wonderful was sitting down with a Hammer movie from 1948 called River Patrol. It's a crime movie. It lasts 43 minutes. I want to be kind because I know there's people out there that I'm friends with that enjoyed this movie, but I was not a fan of this movie. It is shoddily put together. It does not have really any true cohesion. The whole story centers around the river patrol among the Thames and an undercover cop trying to stop a ring of nylon smugglers. And it's Hammer Studios post-war, clearly trying to get their feet back up after the war. And I just feel like they needed to make a programmer just to reinvigorate the business and keep it going. And sadly, it doesn't really work. However, I didn't find it to be completely worthless. There are interesting moments in it, but it's just not worth. I don't think it's personally worth like actively seeking out, other than a curiosity and Hammer horror, or Hammer Studios history, I should say. I will say though that it has all the plot makings of an interesting Guy Ritchie movie. If Guy Ritchie were to remake this movie, I'd probably love the shit out of that movie. And like, you get Jason Statham in that lead role, and you get Eddie Marzan as the villain. I think this would be a great remake of a movie because he could be funny with it. But the movie, I think, is just, unfortunately, it falls pretty flat. So I don't recommend River Patrol. However, if you like that movie and you had fun with it and it's B-movie cheesy goodness, I totally get it. It has the makings of an MST3K, and so you can have fun with it. But just wasn't for me. And then I decided, well, I'll go with something that is for me. So I went through the Matrix trilogy in a night. First one's still great. I still sequels. Not much else to really report other than I'm excited for Matrix Resurrections. And then I went ahead and did some stuff for the Punk Rock Horror Podcast this week, amongst which was reviewing a Eli Roth movie I had not seen yet called The House with a Clock in Its Walls. And I love this movie. It's a lot of fun. Hey, Ryan, you were right. This movie was a lot of fun. I remembered your review.
Again, you're just proving my point. I'm always right.
I know. And case in point, you were absolutely right, because this is a lot of fun. If anybody doesn't know what it is, a young kid's parents die, and his eccentric uncle, played by Jack Black, Uncle Jonathan, sends for his nephew to come and live with him in his creepy house that's alive. He has a friend. The name is Fleming, played by Cate Blanchett. And the nephew slowly finds out that, hey, my uncle's a warlock. And hey, can you teach me magic, Uncle Jack Black? And he's like, yeah, sure, squibbly bam. And he teaches him magic. And at the same time, they've got to stop an evil curse that is inhabiting the house. Basically, there's a clock hidden in the house that keeps ticking all night, and the hour mark on the clock is slowly going backward from 4 chimes to 3 chimes, and they have to figure out what it's all about. I thought, Ryan, I think I was texting you this after I saw the movie, but there was some actual like interesting moments of terror in this movie that I wasn't expecting. Kyle MacLachlan's in the movie, and he's great. And they give him this like creepier than usual makeup to deal with for a kids movie. I guess my expectation is that a kids movie in this day and age, I'm not expecting it to push that kind of Amblin boundary. But being that this company is Amblin, and from looking it up, it apparently said that Steven Spielberg was insisting that this project have scarier elements in it, that it totally pays off. There's elements of dealing with post-traumatic stress disorder during World War II, after World War II, and also the consequences of World War II are stuck in this movie. And I'm like, this is PG, and there's a farting topiary lion in this movie. I don't understand how this magical thing is working right now, but it is. So yeah, if you haven't seen The House with a Clock in Its Walls, especially if you've got a kid, I think you're gonna have fun with this movie. It's got some.
Kellen loves it, and
I get
Kate
it.
Blanchett is beautiful in this film.
Oh my God, she is. Oh my God, her when she finally learns how to do her magic again to save them, I like cheered in my seat. I was like, this is so much fun. Because her backstory is so fucking tragic. Like,
yeah,
it was, and I didn't know this property at all, but it is based on a book series, and the book series, as it's continued since the death of the original author, was co-written by somebody I was working with on the Jack Benny convention back in February, Brad Strickland. He wrote the later installments, so I kind of hope they find a way to keep that series going, because I'd love to see Strickland get some credit for his work. But I'm curious to check out these books now. They sound like a lot of fun. And then I went ahead and went down a Disney rabbit hole, and I rewatched the Reluctant Dragon and Fun and Fancy Free. Fun and Fancy Free, I've seen a bunch. We don't need to talk about one of Disney's greatest movies ever made. I'm here to talk about the Reluctant Dragon, which I have not seen, Ryan, since college, when I got the Walt Disney Treasures Behind the Scenes DVD from the library. I remembered all the stuff showing the multiplane camera, the train whistle, and the showing of the Reluctant Dragon itself. I'd completely forgot that this story is all centered around Robert Benchley's wife nagging him into pitching a story to Walt Disney. Like, yep. I had just completely forgotten that, and just watching him trying to avoid the nerdy Disney guard. Like, it was just a lot of fun. It's like a slick hour and 13 minutes of just Disney clearly trying to buy some time to make those other movies. And I do think it actually works as a fun piece of entertainment. And I do like the fact that you get a look into the process, albeit heavily manufactured by Disney at that time to make it look idyllic, because this movie came out amidst the strike. So there's a lot of baggage attached to that. But it's one of the best special features that could ever be possibly placed on that 2-pack, because it looks beautiful in Blu-ray. Like, they actually did upgrade it. I wish it wasn't just a bonus feature. Like, I do actively wish it was kind of like on its own disc, but I think that's just me being picky. And then I saw a noir at Film Club called Harriet Craig with Joan Crawford. This movie is available on YouTube, and it is astoundingly great, and I wasn't expecting it to be. It's about a woman who basically is trying to keep her husband close to her at every single point, all the way to the desperate action of lying to his boss about his behavior because she's that clingy. And just the way it's shot by Vincent Sherman and just the way the dramatic upswing goes up and down in a melodramatic fashion with this like sharp, sinister look, you get invested. It's like it easily hooks you in. Crawford's great in it. And I do recommend, if you want to check out a Joan Crawford movie that'll just kind of like sit you down for that good hour and a half and just transfix you, like you cannot go wrong with the film. And then the last thing I watched just before recording was The Children's Hour, which I'm going to be doing as part of an episode for Ballyhoo. Has Audrey Hepburn and Shirley MacLaine and a young James Garner right after he had gotten off of his contract for Maverick after basically suing Warner Brothers to get out of it. And it's a movie about two women played by MacLaine and Hepburn who run a school for girls. And their school starts dissolving when one of the girls who is misbehaving lies to her grandmother about Hepburn and MacLaine being lesbians. And this movie is made in 1961, directed by William Wyler, who established director of the Golden Age. And I was astounded by the mastery at hand in this movie, because I thought I knew where it was going to go. And in the last 15 to 20 minutes, they pull something under the rug that I just was not expecting them to do it. And where it goes from in that last 20 minutes is heartbreaking. Consequently, and I'll bring this up in my episode of Ballyhoo, the little girl who lies to her grandmother about them being in a lesbian relationship is on par with Rhoda from The Bad Seed as one of the most sociopathic children I've ever seen on a film, period. It was astounding, like how devilishly like sinister she was. But unlike Rhoda and The Bad Seed, it's not like horror fun. Like she is just terrible. So yeah, if you want to see this movie, it's on Prime and it's an hour and 49 minutes. And I do genuinely think it will grip you because of how honest it is, given the limitations they have to work in at that time. Ryan, I already texted you, like, I do think you will like this movie, like, and for on Prime for free, you're not investing anything. So other than your time.
Looks good.
Yeah. And that's all I watched this week.
I actually didn't watch too much. I got my Woody Woodpecker Screwball Classics in. It's really fun. His character really changed throughout the first 25 cartoons he was in.
Yeah.
In this set, I guess he's in a couple more. They don't actually have his first appearance in this. They have his first starring role, which is the cartoon's called Woody Woodpecker. His appearance changed a lot, but he's kind of he's just a goofy character. He reminds me of Daffy Duck if Daffy Duck wasn't so cynical.
If he had stayed loony, essentially.
Yeah. So yeah, if you take the Daffy Duck from Porky's Duck Hunt or his first appearance, yeah, that's basically who Woody Woodpecker is. I will say though, if you get the Blu-ray, it's well worth it, because not only do you get the 25 cartoons, but it comes with a ton of bonus features. And one is a whole new documentary about making Woody Woodpecker, and then they have a bunch of ones that are older, but I've never seen them. But it deals with the creation of him, the people behind his creation and the cartoons. It's pretty great.
Is there any documentary on Walter Lantz in it?
Yeah. So it deals with. So the first one is kind of an overview of Woody Woodpecker, and then it deals into his origins and the voice of him. And I guess Universal commissioned a bunch of new Woody Woodpecker cartoons with the movie that was just dumped on Netflix, which is awful. Kellen loves it, but it's an awful movie. But it's pretty fun. Yeah, if you like old cartoons, and they did a really great job of remastering them. So yeah, if you have any interest, I always say, get these Blu-rays, because I want to see them continue to release cartoon shorts on Blu-ray. I watched this movie called The Girl on the Third Floor, which is awful. It's a haunted house movie that stars CM Punk he's a wrestler. It's about a guy who goes to a house that him and his wife bought. She's pregnant, and she's not there yet, so he's renovating the house. As he's renovating the house, supernatural things start to happen, and the movie kind of goes off its rails because they don't fully explain what's happening, which is okay, but it's just one stupid setup after another, and the revelation of what the house is just dumb. I don't know. There's a thing with marbles that doesn't make any sense. This did debut at Telluride Horror Show when I went in 2019, and people raved about it. In fact, it has an 87% rating on Rotten Tomatoes, but the audience gave it a 22%. It's really interesting. There's that much discrepancy, but yeah, like I said, it's not that great. I kept on waiting for it to be like violent or something, and not at all. I mean, there's gore in it, but it's just dumb. I rewatched Hansel and Gretel because it came out on 4K. I should say Hansel and Gretel Witch Hunters. And that's fun because sometimes in horror films or like movies that have a lot of makeup effects in 4K really showcases how great they are. And in the costume design with lots of leathers and lots of detail and lots of texture, the upgrade is very, very noticeable. And the movie's fun. If you haven't seen it, Jeremy Renner and Gemma Arterton stars Hansel and Gretel, and they go around and kill a bunch of witches. And they're called to this town because they have a witch problem, and they take care of it. Pretty deep storytelling. Mm-hmm. It's fun. And the last thing I watched this week is a film called The Return, which is a movie I got, I'm pretty sure when TradeSmart was going out of business. And I picked it up because Sarah Michelle Gellar is in it. And she plays a traveling saleswoman who doesn't want to go to Texas because of memory she has there with her father. And so she ends up going because she's trying to close this account with this cattle person, something like that. And while she's there, the visions become more real, and she's remembering something from her past, and she's haunted by something that's supernatural. And this film, it looks really nice, but it suffers from the mid 2000s of the jump scares where it's really quick, and then it's the sound of, I don't know, kind of like a woman screaming, where it's a quick cut and it's like, Rah! And it just really takes me out of the movie. I mean, it's well made. The acting in it's really good. The twist is kind of stupid, and it's not scary. I watched all the special features, and the director was talking about how he really wanted to make a scary movie. And while the film looks really nice, I don't think he succeeded in a scary movie. It's more of kind of like a mystery thriller. And it is Adam Scott's in it, and it has to be one of his early roles. And in it, he plays this douchebag ex-boyfriend of Sarah Michelle Gellar, which I didn't know that he was a douchey ex-boyfriend until I watched the special features, because they edited out about a 6-7 minute scene with him, which is in the deleted scenes, where he talks about how much he misses her and that their protection order expired, and now he can stalk her again. But that was all taken out of the movie, so I had no idea how he randomly showed up in a bar and threatened Sarah Michelle Gellar. It was really bizarre. Yeah. So it's okay. But when it's 85 minutes long and it feels like it's 2 hours, time for a new movie. And that's all I watched this week.
Neat.
This week on Real Nerds, we saw Malignant. Brad, should people... Well, how about, do you recommend Malignant?
Well, it's tough because there's one really cool aspect of it that I really liked, and then like there's like 5% that I liked and 95 I didn't. So, but like that little 5% is great. So, yeah, I was watching it. I was like, this is dumb. Where's this going? Because for a good opening chunk of it, I'm kind of like, who are these people? Why do they matter? Where is this going? What's this movie going to be? I hope it becomes this one thing, because that would be awesome. But I don't think this movie has the balls to do it. And then they get to it. I'm like, yep. Wow, they had the balls to do that thing. I was going to use that for my own movies, and now I can't. So that sucks. So, yeah, I think if you can hang in there and wait for the end, you'll have a lot of fun, but it's a tough road to get there.
Zach, do you recommend Malignant?
I do. I can't really talk about it until after the trailer. But I will say that I did not watch the trailer for this film and went in completely blind, and I was gobsmacked by several elements. The film is not perfect in every single respect, but it is a damn entertaining movie. And it has a lot of guts by the end of by that third act. I was very, very pleased watching it. So yeah, I do recommend you go check it out, but I would recommend not watching a trailer beforehand, and just going in blank.
So I posted about this even before we did Film Explosion, because when James Wan puts out a horror film, I'll usually go see it. And I'm in Brad's boat. However, I think I enjoyed the build up to it a little more than he did. But what Brad mentioned, and what I'll say too before we get, and if you want to see this movie, please watch it before you listen to this part of our podcast. Mm-hmm. But to have the balls to do what they did makes me go, yes, James Wan is able to do what he wants, and he decided he was going to do what he wants, and we're all just going to buckle in and go for the ride. And I really respect him as a filmmaker for doing it. So yes, I think you should check it out. Here is the trailer for Malignant.
When I was young, something happened to me.
Stop saying that.
Daddy, who are you talking to?
Gabriel.
Is he your imaginary friend?
Whatever you went through before you joined our family, it hurt you in a way that I can't even imagine. You created him.
Daddy, what's going on?
So that you could survive.
I wanted to do something that was a bit different, but yet hark back to my roots. You gotta take chances. If you don't, you end up making the same old thing again and again and again. I think audiences are starved for something that's new and different.
We are going to turn back the hands of time. Close your eyes. He's here too. Who is he? Gabriel. Who is Gabriel?
I'm the only one that can see him.
That's him. He wants to talk to you.
Malignant. Rated R, September 10th.
In Malignant, I can't remember the character's name. I'm the worst.
It's Maddie.
Her name is. She's got two different names. So how do we want to?
Well, let me explain the film first, Zach.
All right.
What's her first name? Is it Maddie?
It's
her adopted
Maddie,
name's
yeah.
Maddie.
Yeah. So she is pregnant, and her husband comes home and is pissed and throws her against a wall, and she hits her head really hard. She locks him out of the bedroom. He sleeps on the couch, and then he's viciously murdered in the middle of the night by some unknown entity.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't know what. Yes, the shadow knows
How to kill.
Yeah, so she doesn't know what's going on. The mystery slowly. I mean, they give you kind of a thing at the beginning that there's some sort of monster. And, you know, so she hits her head, and then she's also starts seeing all these grisly murders starting to happen. And as the film progresses, it starts, her world starts unraveling. Mm-hmm. And when I watched this for the first time, because they really emphasized her hitting her head, I thought that maybe this was all like a nightmare or a dream that she had.
Mm-hmm.
And it's in the title, like Malignant. I mean, it's in the title with like a tumor. What you learn is the killer, who's named Gabriel, is actually her twin that was growing in her head.
It's like a tumorous thing.
Yeah, that was removed, except it all wasn't removed. So when she hit her head and cracked open her head, he came back. And
yep.
There's a reveal with her adopted mother and sister where you see the tumor monster thing
in the back of her head.
Yeah, and you go, oh shit, this is crazy.
Well, it's not just in her head; it's like fused to her spine, and it has like its own limbs because it's a conjoined twin.
Yeah.
But the amazing part is it also, like, once it's extracted and the single pieces left in it, as just a part of her brain, it can control her entire body. So it completely like reverses her like skeletal structure. Yeah.
And but they also don't play that part up very at the beginning, where you think it might just be her being the killer, and then she's put in jail, and she turns into Gabriel and just goes fucking ape shit, punching holes in like the convicts and ripping their body parts off.
And then she goes after the cops.
Yeah, then she kills them for no reason besides wanting her jacket back, or his jacket back. I guess she's Gabriel now.
Gabriel needs his costume.
Yeah, well, his costume has context. That the prior to that revelation, the movie's playing out like a giallo film, because the moment I saw black gloves, and then I'm like, oh, cool, he's doing this. This is not expected. All right, James, I'm on board. And
it's
when he puts on the costume though, as when Gabriel, quote unquote, puts on the costume again, and you're watching him basically like do it backwards, because that's like the impetus of this. Like, my head was trying to wrap around the logic of it, but I'm going to make a statement here that I think might make some people frustrated, and I apologize if it does. They do backwards acting kind of things in here better than Tenet does. There was just a creepiness to it that just lent to what they were doing on screen, as opposed to just watching it backwards action sequence.
So if you read an interview with James Wan, there's actually contortionist who did that.
Oh, really?
So some of it's obviously CGI enhanced, but they got an actual performer to do the backward stuff.
Oh,
and but on Brad's point, the lead up to it, the acting isn't very good in the movie.
Oh, the dialogue is so bad. Like when she's like reveals that she's to a sister that she's adopted. Like
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just, but it's part of that whole genre of film where it's lit really weird. It's, the blues and the reds. It's like Suspiria.
Yeah, it's a Giallo movie.
I was going to say that this movie is like, has a little piece of like every horror movie that's ever been made in it.
Yeah.
Like the detectives and everything feels right out of his own Saw movies. And then when they trap Gabriel at the end and shut the door on him is like the ending of Saw.
True.
And then suddenly there's like the action movie when Gabriel's like matrixing through the whole police station and like
bullet timing,
bullet timing, and then shoot, I forgot the other ones, but yeah, like mostly, yeah, and then like the weird like rock music cues, and then like sometimes there's an 80s music cue, sometimes like the 90s one for like like right out of like the 90s horror movies and stuff. Like I was like, who chose the the soundtrack for this? Like it's all over the place.
It is, and there's I like I said, I respect James Wan for just going for it and basically saying, you know what, this is a movie I'm gonna make, and I have enough clout now between Aquaman and the Fast movies I've made and the horror films I've made, The Conjuring, that I can make the movie I want to make. And he doesn't pull any punches. It's super violent, and it's just, I mean, you have to go along with the ride, and you have to suspend your disbelief. I mean, you brought up the matrixing of Gabriel. I mean, there's a part in the police station where he runs up the wall and then climbs out like Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
And then when the reveal of him, you go, wait, how could he even do that with her being backwards? Because she's still a normal person.
And he's been dormant since he was an infant. So it's like, how did he train to become this like parkour expert?
But I will say that some of the dialogue is silly, but Annabelle Wallace, who plays Maddie and Gabriel in parts, she's really good when she turns.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I love the like punching of the like ripping the heart out and shit, and it's one of those things where you have to see this movie to believe it. It's just fuck it, let's throw everything on the wall and see what sticks.
Do you know what it felt like, Ryan? Because it's from New Line. It felt like the kind of movies New Line used to put out.
Mm-hmm.
like some wacky chance that they'd take before Warner Brothers fully engulfed them. Like that was kind of lovely to watch. Like just to see them going like, fuck it, yeah, here's $40 million, go do whatever the fuck you want to do.
Did I hear correctly when her mom and her sister are reviewing this, like the hospital tape?
Mm-hmm.
Her mom calls the doctors cock knockers, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you heard that right.
That was weird.
I always love too that I don't know what hospitals in real life always have like the one video tapes of all their like things they've
sessions,
done, sessions, and the records are always in some creepy fucking basement. Like
by the way, in that basement, when she puts down, she has one box down and then she puts the other box down, and suddenly that's the one that she definitely needs to look through. It's a weird cut where it's just like there was no searching involved. You just knew which box to go to.
Yep.
They're clearly not labeled.
Let's back up a bit. Huge facility built on the edge of a cliff, abandoned for years. No one's demolished it, and she drives to it, and it's in the daytime.
Drives near the cliff.
It's in the daytime. She looks across the way. It's only like a couple miles down the road. She drives up to the cliff. It's pitch like late night now, so I don't know how long that curve was.
Yeah, and why did she park so close to the edge?
Right
on
the edge.
I went with asked that question out loud, and I was like, I have no idea. Just go with it.
Like, that can't be the only parking spot on the property, is right on the edge of the cliff. And then, yeah, like, so easy to just like walk through the gate, scale, like find the basement, find the tapes, like, like no one's cleaned it out.
I mean, my guess is, hospitals would have to take the records with them if they close, or if it's closed, they would have to either transfer where their patients went or shred them. Like,
yeah,
I don't think you can just leave medical records unsupervised.
It was the 90s, Ryan. Nobody gave a shit. They just left them in the building.
In the basement of an abandoned hospital on the side of a cliff. They're saying, you know what? I don't think anybody's going to come in here. Let's just leave the doors unlocked. And
the reputation will keep people out. The reputation will just keep them out. Relying on urban legend to make sure nobody enters in here to unveil the revelation of terrifying teratoma, like, gone bananas.
Yep.
Yeah. I like, all that aside though, I really loved it. I had fun with this. This is a solid B movie. I dug it.
What was up with, like, they made a big deal of like Detective Lonely Hearts? Like, that had to be an actor who's like friends with somebody, right? To have their own like weird subplot.
I don't know.
the medical examiner who is just like very, very close to Shaw.
Yeah, they like made some things about her being single, but like it never amounted to anything. And like she was featured later, but it had no bearing on the plot really. She's got to like be scared and hide in the evidence room for a little bit.
That was weird how she was super attracted to the detective. It just made me remember that.
I think she was like just looking for love in general. Like, it could have been anybody. Like, it's weird that they gave that character that much of a subplot.
It's true. God, I didn't even think about that.
They set it up in the beginning, like, oh, here's Detective Lonely Hearts, and like you think that's gonna like have a bearing on anything that happens later, but it doesn't.
Because she also, she hides from Gabriel, and then she's never seen from again.
Yeah, like I guess she helps out the detective who got her like stomach slashed, but yeah, she's never seen after that.
Yeah.
And even like the main detective like gets impaled with in the shoulder with that blade or whatever, but the movie just ends in the hospital room on that like pull out. It's like, I assume he's okay.
I kept on waiting for the
They did that when they trapped Gabriel in his own mind.
Yep. That's what I mean. I was waiting for the music though from Saw.
You were waiting for Hello Zap, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I totally thought there was gonna be a post-credits thing, and there wasn't.
Nope.
Well, I don't know. I have a feeling this is just a one and done. This is just something funny wanted to do.
Plus, like, I do want to know the aftermath, because like she has to go to jail, right?
Oh, I still think you're responsible. Yeah. You can't just let someone like that run around town.
So
who knows when they're going to snap again?
Yeah.
Anyways,
overall,
yeah,
worth watching. Yeah.
I have no idea what we're watching this week.
Yeah, we're still
let me know
away
if you
from
guys
Venom.
think of something. Yeah, I mean, the only thing I could think of is that Mary Elizabeth Winstead movie on Netflix called Kate.
I don't have Netflix.
Okay. Then I don't know. I don't know what's in theaters right now, because I think I've seen everything in theaters.
Yeah,
but
I guess we skipped Don't Breathe 2 and The Protege. And...
Yeah, but are they still in the theaters though? I looked. I don't remember seeing them. But we'll think of something.
Yeah. Because it's just Dear Evan Hansen. Yeah.
That's right.
There's a movie called Puppet Killer at the Pavilions right now.
Actually, I watched the trailer for that, and I thought it was only like a one night Fathom thing. Is it playing more than once? Because I'll totally see that movie because it looks like shit.
I think tonight was it. Shoot.
Fuck. It's like this Elmo puppet that kills people.
That's too bad.
Yeah, the trailer makes it look not very good and really low budget, but it's one of those things where I'm on board because it's so silly. You know, like Jack Frost.
Yep.
Yeah, Don't Breathe 2 and The Protege are still out, and Respect. And that's about it. that we haven't seen. I mean, The Lost Leonardo, I saw that.
Okay.
Eyes of Tammy Faye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cop Shop.
Yeah.
Cry Macho. And yeah.
Yeah, sorry, on Netflix.
What?
Yeah, it's all right. I'll post. I'll post maybe a poll where the movies that are in theater and someone can pick for us.
Yeah, sure.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Sweet.
Well, until next week, thank you, boys, and we will see you at the movies. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Real Nerds Podcast. Real Nerds Podcast is a production of Nebulous Visions Multimedia. Thank you to Sparks Mandrill and Plan 9 Studios for our kick-ass theme song. Also, if you're in the Denver area and you're looking for a cool place to see movies, we see them at the Alamo Draft House in Littleton and now also in Sloan's Lake. Thank you to Colorado Coins, Cards, and Comics for supplying us with all our comic needs, especially you, Andrew. You know who you are. And a big shout out to James's mom. I'm giving you an electronic hug that you can feel through the airwaves. Thanks for listening, and have a nice day.